call to order this regularly scheduled Craven County Board of Commissioners meeting, Monday, April 15th. I welcome each and every one of you to the meeting. Just a reminder, if you have any phones or electronic devices, if you put them on vibrate or silence, it would be greatly appreciated. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Booker,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner McCabe,
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Here.
Commissioner Sampson,
Here.
Vice Chairman Mark,
Here.
Chairman Liner.
Here. If we'd all please stand for the pledge and remain standing for prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious God, we ask your blessing upon the leaders of our county and upon the citizens they serve. We pray that you would be at work in all of us on behalf of peace, mercy, and justice, and that we would heed your calling to love all people as you love us. May a spirit of grace fill us so that all we do in service to the greater good at work and in our world. Amen.
Amen. Okay, have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion, please, to move number 9 up to number 2.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. We also have a motion to amend. Will you accept the motion to amend?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend, moving item 9 up to item 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, water presentation, number 9 will move up to number 2, and all others will follow in the same order. Okay, let's take a motion to approve the consent agenda, minutes of April.
Second.
Tax release and refunds. We have a motion and a second. Any discussions? Questions? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark,
Yes.
Chairman Liner.
Yes. Okay, moving right along. We will bring up water presentation. Al Gerard, Water Superintendent.
I'm gonna make my part short. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
morning. See y'all.
Good morning.
This is what we would like to have put up somewhere in this building so that other people can see this. And I'm gonna let our Crystal French, the customer representation supervisor, speak about this a little bit more. They were all a part of this. I initiated it because of the magazine. We talked about trying to get into the magazine because I felt like we were a good group of people to be there. And it happened, not because of what we wanted, but because of the hurricane. So I'm gonna let
Could
Crystal
you,
take.
sir, could you turn so people see it? Cars, could they see it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and hopefully it'll be somewhere where everybody can see it, all the time. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Crystal French, and I'm the Customer Service Supervisor with Craven County Water. I've worked with the Water Department for 11 years, and I will say I'm the most proudest of being part of this team. Our team is one of probably the best in the county. Of course, I always think that. But we definitely had to pull together because of the hurricane. And the actual magazine is Treatment Plant Operator. Al had brought in a copy of his that he had, and we were looking at it. We're like, okay, what can we do to get in there? One of the first things that we were looking at was the fact that nationwide, women make out about 6% of water plant operators. And while we find that as a very low number, we are very proud to say that in our water plant, we are 50% female water plant operators. So that was originally what we were going to go with. And we had talked with Ted, who is one of the editors for that magazine, and we talked to him throughout the summer, and then of course Hurricane Florence came through. So everything got changed a little bit because of what we had to do with our water plant, this being the first hurricane that we had with our water plant. As y'all remember, October was actually the first year of our water plant fully operating and producing water. So if it had not been for the forethought of the current board and past boards and the actual management team of Craven County, we wouldn't have had that available. During the hurricane, we were also able to aid other counties and cities. Jones County, we have an interconnection with. We were able to provide them with water. City of Havelock, we were able to provide them with water. So what I do want to recognize the most is our water plant operation team, which is headed up by Elliot Thomas. He is our water plant supervisor. He has been with the county almost 12 years now. Then we have Nadine Bentley, who we call her our lead water plant operator. She has been with the county 16 years now, 17 years. She has pretty much done every job that the county water department has. She has been a meter reader. She has been inside the office, and now she is our water plant operator out there. Then we have Mindy Curtis. Mindy has been with us for 2 years now, and she has been doing a great job out there. And then our new one, who is Howie Davis. He luckily got out of having to do the hurricane duties this time, but he is definitely ready for it next time. He's going to learn, all the good things we did and some things that we needed to work on. And then, of course, we have Samantha Robbins. She is our lead field technician. She was very instrumental in helping customers who called in who needed to get their water on, helping people who had leaks get it turned off so they could repair that and not have a lot of wasted water. So we do appreciate all that they did. Our water plant operators at the time, they pretty much lived at the water plant during the hurricane. While other people were, home riding out the storm, there were a lot of people, even in our own department, that were smart and got out. They were there working, and if it was not for them, there could have been a lot of things that did not go right. And we are very proud to say that there was not one Craven County water customer that went without water because of our failure. So we are very proud of that, and we are very proud of this article in the Treatment Plant Operator magazine. They did a very in-depth discussion with Elliot, and we are very proud to present this to the Craven County Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Board have any questions, any comments? I'd just like to say thank you for everything. I mean, that storm took a lot of damage throughout the whole county, and like you said, nobody lost water. Havelock got water from you, because we lost water down in that area, so greatly appreciate it. And I'd like to everybody give them a hand. For everything. Jack, do you need any guidance? You're gonna take that on your own and just install it, right? Got it. Okay.
I'd just like to say, this was a great vision of the former board who thought about we gonna need water and how scarce water has been not only in that area, but all up Raleigh and Durham. They had to go to court because one of the cities up there had a contract with the other city. When the water got scarce, the other city cut them off, and then they didn't have any water. So this was a great vision that happened for this county, that we was able to plan a long-range plan that we would make sure that we had water for this county and anyone else that we could service around us. I just thank them very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on. Next on the agenda, economic development update, Jeff Wood.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thought I'd been here almost 100 days, so I thought I would update you guys on my my adventure over the past few months. Start off with workforce development. I think most people know that we had a job fair back in March. Just to update you on that, the numbers were down in quantity. However, post surveys and conversations with the employers that we had, they said that the quality of the candidates were far up. Matter of fact, several people have hired folks from that actual job fair. So looking at that analysis, trying to figure out what maybe our next steps are to get the numbers back up to some of the numbers that were before. And I think some of that had to do with change of location, change of date, change of time. But also make sure that we don't lose that ability to get quality numbers up. We had a pretty strong social media campaign for several weeks. I think that had some value to it as well. But it was a positive event, and it did help our employers, which is something I'll talk a little bit later under existing industry, something that is needed. Another thing that we had, that I saw a few weeks ago in the newspaper, UNC had put together a study showing the demographics of education attainment. And so they had put out these numbers for for North Carolina, and you look 43%. So I called the folks that put the study together to ask about Craven County. As you can see, whenever we look at high school graduation, for instance, we pretty much mirror the state. We have some question marks here, although I think that some of these statistics don't show things like Cherry Point. So, but what I really wanted to brag about today when it comes to Craven County is these numbers in comparison to those numbers. So when you look at Craven County workforce, our numbers are 5% higher than the state's average when it comes to skilled workforce, people with some college up to an associate's degree. I think that speaks well for the community college. I think that speaks well for Craven County, that we're a workforce county. And that's some language that I've been using to brag as I put together some proposals. So I wanted to throw that at you guys this morning. Go to product development real quick. Within the industrial park, our shell building continues to move forward. Within a number of weeks, that should be complete. The utility extension has started that you guys, that the board approved funding of last calendar year. That continues to move forward and should be completed by the end of this fiscal year. Both McGunkin and Pyle and Kimac continue to have activity on their property. McGunkin and Pyle has already started to hire some folks, and Kimac has selected Tar Heel Construction for their construction activities. So all those things continue to move forward. Something else that I wanted to point out, since I've been here, I've visited several manufacturers through the area quickly to get an idea of what some of the issues and opportunities are. I'm going to guess, just to round it down a little bit, that I've already seen about 200 unfilled positions that are in our manufacturing industry. Most of those are unskilled, but a lot of those are still skilled positions, management positions, engineering, logistics, things like that. So this is not unusual. If you look at our economy nationwide, this is something that mirrors the rest of the country. But how we respond to it as an economic development team is probably going to matter as we try to help them continue to expand, or if we recruit new companies in the area. So working with folks like the school system and the community college system to look at all different ways, call it guerrilla warfare workforce development, including trying to find people who may need a second chance and winning jobs by fulfilling 5 or 10 instead of being able to do 200 at a time. So that's something that I expect to be able to talk a little bit more about throughout the rest of the year, of solutions that we're finding to help those jobs be filled. And then as you think about it, if they can't fill those positions, they're having to slow down their planning and their activity. So trying to figure out how to prevent some of those future issues. Also, there was an investment made for Chatsworth. That expansion continues at the industrial park as well. On the recruitment side, we've been marketing the shell building as it's being constructed to start pushing those things forward. You can see, there's the building. On our real estate commercial LoopNet, those numbers actually, as of today, the shell building itself was over 11,000 searches that it made, and 82 detailed looks. That goes across the board from real estate firms to the federal government. There's been several people that have looked at it. So that's from what I'm gathering from our commercial, from LoopNet and CoStar, that's extraordinarily high. What I really like about it, though, is Lot 19, which is right beside it. If you look at the numbers that it was having prior to, it was just having some smaller numbers. It's increased in activity. As a matter of fact, I have had 2 RFIs that have came requests for information for real estate that specifically said, I want to know about the shell building, but also what's the property around it. So the C1A's investment in the Shell building has helped to market the green space that the county owns. So it's definitely paying off as a Shell building should, and more than just itself. Talked a little bit about the request for information. Beginning of the year, it was really busy in January. February and March, it kind of tapered off a little bit, but our activities within the office of marketing the Shell building kind of helped soften that a little bit. Total of 15 requests for information. 10 of those we were able to respond with property that we had available. The remainder were buildings that we just didn't have within our inventory. And 2 are ongoing, where we have multiple questions that are being bounced back and forth, and we've made some version of a short list. So that shows that there's still activity going on, and that one of the things that I've said to site selectors and to prospects is that as the new guy in town, really impressed with Craven County. It hits above its weight class of a county of 104,000 people to have a military base, an agriculture base, a manufacturing base, and a tourism town sitting in the middle of it, not to mention a healthcare regional hub. It's pretty daggone impressive. So I think that these numbers continue to show that. Some of the other things that I want to make sure to mention, do continue to meet with and talk to the folks at Cherry Point. Nothing to report since the last time I was here, but I am aware of that activity. I have been able to visit the base. Have talked to some folks in Havelock, so starting to build some ideas there, but nothing to flesh out as of right now. And then also, not forgetting our friends in agriculture. I've had several meetings with Extension, looking at everything from aquaculture opportunities and some of the infrastructure that's still in place, open field crops, and looking to try to identify tipping points that will help our agriculture community move in the direction of something like an aggregation point. So I don't want it to be thought for one second that we've ignored that piece. And then finally, I just want to brag on Team Craven a little bit. As a guy that just moved from the hills of West Virginia and thrown into a really great office with a lot to learn. Everything from Abigail in the office, who has kept me sane, to all the departments. I learned quickly that Team Craven's not just a slogan from the HR department. They actually do pull together quite a bit, and that includes me. I had to do my forklift training last week, and I was the worst in the class, but I did pass. So, anyway, I just want to say it's been a pleasure. Thanks again for giving me this opportunity. I see great things ahead in all the different areas of investment from the county. So at that, if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
Jeff, one question. As an employer, excuse me, several years ago, I hired someone at a job fair, one of our job fairs at the convention center. And I'm wondering, a year's a long time. Have you given any thought to maybe doing it twice a year? Having someone who needs employees, they give it a shot, they go to this job fair, maybe hire 1 or 2 people, and then they go back to their conventional, all the ways that we look for employees when we're an employer. So I'm just wondering if you've given that any thought.
Waiting for the rest of the surveys to come through, but yeah, we did either having a smaller multiple throughout the year or helping out, say, the school system, who also have job fair type projects for their seniors. Working with those maybe in the spring, and then in the fall, maybe we would do something. But we are looking at multiple ones instead of a larger one. Yes, sir.
I just experienced a number of people, and I worked at 2 or 3 of those job fairs myself when
Yeah.
I was at the booth. And a number of people who really don't know how to look for a job.
Yeah.
Came through and had questions and wanted to know what kind of jobs were available. So I think there's a real value in that, in that it probably touches people that don't have a conventional way to look for work.
Yep. Yeah, and Commissioner, another thing that I think helped add the quality was the community college this year had a boot camp prior to, and I think that helped to get people prepared before they walked in the door.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Jeff, thank you much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, next on the list, Health Department, Scott Harrelson.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
This morning, I've got two items on the agenda. Both have been approved by the Board of Health. And the first up is some additional family planning funding. This was funding that was diverted a couple of years ago, and now we're getting it back. The projects that it was diverted for, I suppose, have come to an end. And this is $19,307. And we would like to buy long-acting contraceptives for our Title X family planning program at the Health Department. Are there any questions on this one?
Receive a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any questions, any comments? Roll call?
Commissioner Booker?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark?
Yes.
Chairman Liner.
No.
Thank you. The next item are animal control fees. It had been some time since we had updated our animal control fees. We do have an accepted job offer pending background check, which I feel will be no issue with this applicant. So we have hopefully have a new animal control director on board May 1st. And I tapped her area of expertise and got her thoughts on some of these fees. And got them approved through the Board of Health, and would like to bring them for your consideration this morning.
Receive a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Any questions, any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Booker?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark?
Yes.
Chairman Liner.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Scott,
Appreciate
thank you,
it.
sir. Okay, next on the list, Solid Waste, Rusty Cotton, and Gene Hodges. Tag team.
Good morning, Commissioners,
Good
Chairman.
morning.
Morning.
Have two agenda items for you today. The first is our Manette's Convenience Site. Craven County Solid Waste Department is nearing the end of a 10-year lease extension agreement between Craven County and Ms. Sharon H. Manette for the use of Manette's Convenience Site property ending June 30th, 2019. The parties have entered into good faith negotiations concerning further use of this property and a new lease agreement. The Manettes have requested $1,200 per month and have agreed to a 5-year lease. The current 10-year lease extension agreement is $950 per month. We would ask the board to approve the new 5-year lease for Manette's Convenience Site. The new 5-year lease would have an escape clause for the county or Manette's if we so choose to utilize that.
Okay, receive a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions, any comments? Questions? Manager, I have one question. Will this lease come back before the board?
I think by your approving today, it would be final.
Okay. Everybody understand that? We haven't seen the lease.
Mr. Chair, I think the lease would remain the same. I think Mr. Cotton referenced an addition staff would recommend. The board can choose not to do this. Would be add a 120-day, either party relieve themselves of the contract, which is not currently in the contract. That would be the only addition.
So everything else remain the same except for that addition needs to be put in
And
there.
of course, the change to the price per month.
Okay, great. Any questions, any comments on that from the board?
Mr. Chairman, yes, the separation clause, I mean, is there any monies involved? I mean, is it just a 120-day notice, you can depart, no cost to us, no cost to us? Okay.
Roll call.
Commissioner Booker?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark?
Yes.
Chairman Liner.
Yes.
I want to help Rusty on the next one. So, you want to put that up for me, Dennis? So in February, Craven County issued a request for proposal, an RFP for countywide curbside recycling. The existing contract expires on June the 30th, 2019. When the bids closed on March 27th, 2019, we had one firm provide a bid, Waste Industries LLC. Bidders were required to bid the contract in two different ways, and we'll talk about that here on the screen. First was weekly collection utilizing our current 18-gallon containers, and second, bi-weekly collection utilizing a new 64-gallon roll-out covered container. Waste Industries bid $6 per month per household for each method of collection. After additional discussion with Waste Industries representatives, they did provide an alternative model of a 96-gallon container collected monthly at a rate of $4.60 per month per household. There was a spreadsheet summarizing all these options were in your agenda. It is also on the screen, and we can walk through it if that's what we want to go through. There are a few factors that the board needs to consider during this decision process. The county is mandated by state law to put forth a good faith effort to reduce solid waste. Additionally, there are materials that are banned from landfills that are currently part of our recycling program, especially aluminum cans and plastic bottles. The relevant statutes were included in the agenda, and they're also they're easily defined. There is a consumer demand in our county for increased access to recycling opportunities. Having a convenient curbside recycling program is what makes our volume-based sticker program both viable and potentially more affordable for our citizens. Also, by nature of the geography of our county, if it was to be an open market and allow the citizens to contract privately for curbside recycling collection, it's very likely that some of our citizens in more rural areas would not have vendors to service them. Lastly, if the fee is changed, there will need to be consideration for the elderly and veteran discount that's currently provided and the impact this would have on citizens with escrow accounts. Now, I'll open it up that staff is available to answer any questions, provide this board with any additional information to help them in the decision-making process. So what we've got on the screen, just to walk through it for our audience and for the board again. So the first column is currently what our program looks like and what our program has. So our price per month is $2.92. The price per year is $35.04. That's what it costs for each household. This is approximately 45,000 households in the county. What is billed on the tax bill is $36 a month. The difference between the $35.04 and the $36 is twofold. Number one, that helps to make the discount for elderly and veterans. That helps to make that money up for that discount. That also is there to absorb a CPI adjustment that is in the contract. So each year, the CPI is looked at, I believe, in January of each year.
January, compares January's to the previous year.
For all items, and there's a CPI adjustment. Sometimes it goes down, sometimes it goes up. And you currently have weekly collections, and it's an 18-gallon bin that we're all familiar with. The first proposal, which was the proposal 1A, which was $6, would increase the cost to $72 per year. We would estimate a $75 per year price to both absorb that discount and the CPI. And the frequency collection would be weekly, utilizing the same 18-gallon. Their second proposal was the $6 per month, $72 per year. The price per year with the cushion, again, $75 with bi-weekly collection and the 64-gallon. So this would be a larger container that you would then be able to have more recyclables in and get picked up every 2 weeks. The alternate proposal they provided would have been a $4.60 per month charge per household, which averages out to $55.20, $57 annual with the cushion. That then becomes a monthly collection. So you would be going from weekly to a monthly collection, and 95-gallon container. The other option would be if you had the proposal number 3, which would be a no curbside collection. The $36 annual fees removed from the tax bills. The convenience sites are used for recycling, and based on our research and what we feel that is in compliance with what we're required to do, which is a good faith effort to encourage recycling and reduce the solid waste stream. But be aware that that will require additional pulls at the convenience sites to pull those materials away from the sites as people want to recycle there, and could more than likely result in more money if there's more pulls. So these are the options as now laid out for the board to contemplate, and we're here for questions and here to receive direction.
Okay, board, I'll open it up for questions and comments.
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the public needs to be aware that this company that made this proposal, which is Waste Management, correct?
Waste Industries.
Waste Industries, I'm sorry. Yeah, Waste Management. They're in business to make money, and they take these items that we put in these bins and they sell them to somebody who has the means and the need to recycle. And I think the public needs to know that there really isn't much of a demand today for most of these items. Am I correct in saying this?
That's correct.
That is correct, yes, sir. The recycle market has fallen on hard times. China is not accepting the recyclables like they were at one time, and it is basically a flat market currently, yes, sir.
Okay, so if there's no real demand, I know that there are a lot of people in our county, maybe more in the cities, but I don't know where they live, but a lot of people consider recycling to be very, very important. And I think it's important that we give them an option as to how they can continue to recycle. Having said that, I think the majority of our citizens, maybe a large number, would say to double their fee to pick up stuff that isn't being sold doesn't make a lot of sense. So I just thought it was important that the public understand that while at one time newspaper, plastic was being used as it was being provided, and I think maybe we've done such a good job in our country of telling people to recycle that we've actually created a problem. So it's just important that everybody understands that when they put that newspaper in that bin, it's probably not really being recycled. It's probably going into a landfill somewhere.
Chances are you're probably right. You're very accurate on that.
Okay, that's all I have.
Waste Industries, excuse me, Chairman Liner, Waste Industries has indicated through some talks with them that if the board chose the last option to do away with the recycling, that they would be available to service households in the county on a per-call basis. Granted, some of the areas that are very far outside the county, it may not, they may not reach that far, and I'm sure some of the municipalities would still offer recycling, would be my thought.
Yeah, I was gonna add that the cities could contract with whoever
They can contract with whoever they want.
and
Negotiate.
continue, if the municipalities wanted to continue recycling within their jurisdiction, they would have the option to do that.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Jack?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think you bring up a good point. I spoke with Norma from Waste Industries, who's been our account rep for a long time. I talked to her about that issue. Would she be willing to, or would Waste Industries continue to privately serve citizens who want to maintain the Waste Industries recycling service? She agreed to, just like Rusty or Gene said, it's going to be based on geography and density. I mean, obviously, they're not going to do it where they can't make a lot of money in the rural parts, but certainly the more dense a neighborhood or a municipality may be, would be the option. I also want to point out on the front row, we do have representatives if you have questions for them. We have Blaine, BC, and JB here with Waste Industries who service the Craven County account from a day-to-day basis.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
talking about that cost, did she give you an idea of how much it costs
She
to have
didn't.
a private?
We talked, Commissioner Jones, about, some people who do the subscription trash service may get a bundle price that may be better. Some people who are just doing recycling may have a different price. She was still working with her leadership on how that would look. But she did seem very optimistic that would be something they would offer.
Have you ever had, do you have any statistics geographically for our county of how many people recycle, like in the rural part of the county? How many of our citizens recycle versus if you go to the other end of the county?
Yeah, we have a set out rate that all the county, of course, is charged the same fee. Some still, very few choose not to recycle even though they are charged, but we do not have it broken down by geographic area or by household. No, sir.
Okay.
We don't have that information, unfortunately.
Is there a possibility to rebid this?
Sir, I'll take that one. I think there is a possibility for that, but my guess is you're gonna get the same outcome, because there's not a huge market for this service out there now. You know, I hate saying it in front of them, but Waste Industries sorta is the provider in East North Carolina now. A lot of the competition's gone away for a variety of reasons. We had some initial interest in the pre-bid, but obviously startup costs and things like that are gonna be prohibitive. I don't know if you'll see a better price. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't suspect you will.
If I may, and you correct me, gentlemen, if I'm wrong, but I think I've heard in some discussions in the past that we have checked eastern North Carolina counties. And I think we checked maybe around 20 eastern North Carolina counties. You want to take that?
Yes, sir. We did a quick survey, just wanted to understand what the other counties were doing. Out of 20 counties we looked at in East North Carolina, only 2 of them had curbside recycling. All of the other 18 had convenience sites or private collection. When we look at a more statewide thing, there's only about 6 counties that have curbside recycling service in the state. There may be a 7th. We were trying to figure out one of the mountains to determine if it was what the fee was for. Now, I don't want to take that back, because there are some counties that have big municipalities, and it may seem like they have countywide because that municipality is almost the whole county, right? Like a Mecklenburg or a Durham. But those counties actually don't have it. So your largest counties, Wake, Mecklenburg, or Durham, do not have countywide recycling. This was obviously, our solid waste program in entirety is unique to North Carolina. It's a pay-as-you-go program. The recycling program takes things out of the trash can that you'd otherwise pay for, so it limits the cost there for an individual. So you kind of got to look at these 2 programs together. No one else has a sticker program in the state, Commissioner Jones. So I think there was some real thought process back in the 90s when this was put together that these programs sort of go hand in hand.
Mr. Chairman, if you will, I don't mean to have so many questions, but looking ahead, gentlemen, do you see that we as a county would be utilizing our convenience sites more so than what we do today? And what I'm getting at, if we go to proposal 3, especially the district in which I represent, the majority of it, most folks, a lot of folks do utilize the convenience sites. I mean, this would be an inconvenience to some to have to take it there, but my question is going forward, trash, in how we offer things today, do you see that changing in the future, that we might utilize these sites more?
Well, I'll look at it specifically for this proposal here. If you go with proposal number 3, I think the answer is absolutely yes. I think there's still people that if you don't offer curbside recycling will still recycle, and they traditionally probably don't use the convenience sites now. Some of them will use them more. I think when you get in, Commissioner Jones, to the global solid waste program, if something was to change and you went a different type of program, I think absolutely. And I think then you need to look at how your geography of your sites is laid out and the people's accessibility to them. Because when they were originally put forward, you had some of these programs in place, and it wasn't, you tried to get them as centrally located as you could, but if you do away with some of the programs, you may need more sites in the future.
The last thing I just offer for this board, I don't know how many of you probably know, if you go back to 1992, 1993, Grenadier was sitting on this board when they began the current trash system as we have it today. And I probably in my tenure of life never seen a more controversial discussion as it was on that, the charge that was given to go to a sticker program for our trash, number 1, and then to begin the recycling program. You probably remember it.
I've read articles, yes, sir.
Granddaddy even had folks come and dump all their trash in the front yard of our house. I live with him. That's how bad people got mad over it. You know, in the same respect, we're in a different time and age now. It was very controversial going in, but, you know, I've talked to a lot of people that say, you know, it's worked well for them, you know, in the system that we have today. But I still believe, and I agree with my colleague, that to go and for the rural area in which I represent especially, I do represent part of New Bern, but I think the city of New Bern is going to probably step up and do something to accommodate them. But I think for the rural area in which I represent, to go and to double this fee for them, when, you know, financially many of them are already struggling, and to say that some probably are not utilizing the service at the current time, would be a hardship, and, you know, I got to take that into consideration. I think we're still offering it at our convenience sites, and, you know, if all the questions I've asked are things that the citizens have come back to me and asked. Could we rebid this? You know, is there other potentials out there? If they're going to offer it to some of the citizens, you know, as a private service, yes, it's going to probably cut out most of western Craven County because they're not going to go out there. But I think I'm going to catch more backlash for doubling this fee on the folks in which I represent, and I can understand that. So thank you for the time you give me, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, question.
Mr. Mitchell.
Oh, quick, Miss.
Thank you. First question is, if the market for recyclable materials changes 1 to 3 years down the road, can we reinstitute the curbside program should the cost go down?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a market-driven cost, as I understand it, and we're doubling the fee so that we can store the recyclables somewhere because there is no markets to sell them to. If that changes, it can be reinstituted, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's suppose in 2021, the market revives, we can go back to something close to the original cost and reinstitute.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, second question. I know you looked at the number of counties that had a curbside recycling service, and it came out to 6 or 7 statewide of how many counties?
100.
100. Okay, did you check and see how many municipalities offer curbside recycling?
I don't believe that we did. I will tell you, there's certainly a trend in municipalities where you'll see more of them that do than counties. You know, municipalities are set up to enhance citizens' life, so they look for things like this as something that they can do. Of course, we know they don't get in human service things, they don't run jails, things like this. So typically, recycling solid waste is a big part of a city budget. The bigger the city, I will tell you, it's probably demographically based too. Chapel Hill's certainly going to have a recycling program, where maybe your smaller rural cities would not, but we did not analyze that.
Okay, because I agree with Commissioner Jones. I think doubling the fee for certain people in my district who are on a fixed income, it would be a hardship, and if they are that senior, I'm not sure that they are using it anyway, but I do know that it would be a significant chunk of their small budgets at tax time, and that does significantly concern me. So, thank you.
Mr. McKay.
Mr. Chair, why is there such a high demand for that price, $75? Why did it go from 35 to 75 so high?
Commissioner McCabe, I'll take a shot at that one. You got a lot of factors there. One is that Waste Industries attempts to make money off this service, right? I mean, they're not doing it to lose money, and they're certainly not trying to do it to break even. I think they've had, because of the collapse in the global market for recyclable commodities, they've sort of maybe even been upside down. They haven't shared that with me, but I'm assuming right now they're not in a good place. So what this bid represents is probably more along the line of what their true cost plus ability to make some money on the account would be. But, you know, let's be honest, there's been numerous news articles that I've read over the last year about the collapse in China. You know, China was taking all this material, they were sorting it there, probably landfilling a good bit of the contaminated materials and things that they couldn't use. I think their government said, hey, we've had enough of being the world's landfill here. We're going to be real stringent now on what we recycle. You had some other countries in Asia that tried to pick up some of the demand from the market. They just can't sustain it. I think India's jumped in, Vietnam, some of those other places there. And they can't sustain the volumes that China did. And again, they're facing the same thing problem China had, which is what do you do with materials when there's not a global demand for it to come back, right? So the biggest thing, you know, and when I've talked with some of the waste industries folks, you know, glass, heavy commodity, difficult to deal with, no market for it at all. So I think that's probably a lot of factors in why you're seeing it go to $75 per year versus the 36.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me how many families in my area that use recycling? Can you estimate how many families?
We don't have those numbers on a per household basis, no, sir. I apologize, we just don't have those numbers, how many people set out each week in a particular area.
But again, only your people pay the $36, whether they use it or not.
Whether
Right.
they utilize it or not, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tough one.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
you know, in my district, it's the same as Commissioner Jones. I think that we have people there that are willing to pay that amount, and I have people in some parts of the district that would not be willing to pay that amount. Whenever we have done something like this on a county basis, it's one way only, correct? In other words, let's say I have a community, Quail Woods or Fairfield Harbor, that would like to use a subscription of $55. Could they do it on an individual contract basis?
I think Waste Industries is optimistic that they can offer that. You know, she committed to me, but I don't want to speak for her today since she's not here, Ms. Yanez. But again, Commissioner Mark, in your district in particular, you know, while Fairfield Harbor, they may find the density there and it may be close enough in, you know, trying to serve an Epworth or a Mall Swamp Road may be more challenging.
Right.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
But Chair, if we do not go along with the, this company, what other people can do with their trash? Like Jason said, throw people yards on the highways, in the ditches, in the rivers, and you can still have to pay for it some kind of way.
You want to take it? You want me?
Well, Commissioner McCabe, I think it comes down to the curbside recycling program is a convenience, right? It allows every citizen to have the opportunity to equally recycle by having a bin you place in front of your house that someone picks up. If that program is not in existence, the folks would have two options. One is they can use the county, actually they have three options hopefully. They use the county convenience centers where we have recycling containers there. Obviously, Mr. Cotton's concerned because we can't judge the volume right now, what people would do that. Two, they could hopefully have a private, an agreement, let the private sector deal with this through Waste Industries or another vendor, whatever the board chooses there, to have those still collected curbside. Or thirdly, they'll have to manage solid waste in their home as they deem appropriate. And I gotta say that in a manner which I'm not encouraging people to do things, because there's certain items that are banned from the landfill, but citizens will have to make that choice. But never would we encourage illegal dumping or anything like that, that would, you know, I mean, obviously potentially could be a problem, but not something we would want folks to do.
Any other questions? Any other comments? All right, what's the pleasure of the board? What's the instructions we would like to give the manager or the leadership, because they need to either put it in the budget or put it out of the budget, so when we come back on the 6th of May with the budget, what we got, what guidance does this board want to give?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that we propose proposal number 3.
Second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussions?
Mr. Chairman, I would, if I may. We have said there's gonna be some cost, you know, possible for additional pools if we go with proposal 3. How would we fit that into the solid waste budget you know, or would we continue to charge, I'm just throwing out a figure, a $5 fee instead of a $36 fee per household?
Yes, sir. Based on now understanding where I think the direction the board's gonna go, without you voting, of course, I would say if you're gonna go with option 3, I would leave a nominal amount inside the tax bill, maybe $4 or $5, sir. I got a great degree of confidence that our pools are gonna go really, really hard for us to judge, Rusty, about what the new volume numbers will look like next year.
So just so we have an understanding, our citizens have an understanding, by going with proposal 3, you know, we're not saying that you're not gonna have, $36 is going away altogether.
Right.
There's gonna be a fee, because we have to offer the service. We're mandated to do that. We have to offer it in some scope, to our citizens, and we're offering it through the convenience sites.
Yeah, just through staff talking to commissioners, I think the $4 additional, maintain $4 in this program, which should hopefully take care of our needs for this year. And we can obviously look at it, you know, once we get better data throughout next year, if you decide to do away with it, and see how we can adjust it. Maybe adjust it down or up, depends on where it goes. But most counties, I think, out of the 20 we looked at, Rusty, do use some type of fee for convenience site management, whether it be recyclables or solid waste. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
$4 would certainly be on the way low end of that.
Any further questions, comments? All right, we have a
I just, how soon can you find out about the individual subsequents?
I think once we make a decision, once the board makes a decision today, I'll get back on the phone and let, obviously the waste industries reps are here, but I'll speak with Ms. Yanez again and try to pin that down. And I'll let the municipalities know as well.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Booker?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
No.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark?
Yes.
Chairman Liner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is Recreation and Parks, bear donation, Billy Weeks.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
A couple of months ago, I was approached by two citizens. They're sitting in the second row here, Ina Thomas and Wayne Barnett, about a couple of things. One was a community-wide celebration, not only for the finding of a young man last fall that was just a wonderful story, but also of law enforcement, first responders in general. And they did a community-wide celebration on April the 6th at Creekside Park. It's a wonderful event. The community came together sort of to recognize what a great group of folks we have in our community that help keep us safe every day. The second part of our conversation centered on a bear. And part of the story of last fall was that the young man that we mentioned earlier, Mr. Hathaway, there had a bear sighting while he was there. And they thought part of that idea would be to bring a bear to Craven County as sort of like a recognition of that, but also an honor and help us to keep that in our memory. And so that was sort of like the idea that they came forward with. The bear is going to look like the picture that's on the board. That's the sort of the plain bear. They're going to work with the Craven Arts Council to design the bear. The one thing they wanted to do was bring the bear to Creekside Park and put it right before the whole community to see, sort of as a memory. That's the spot there that we have discussed at Creekside Park. I know many of you have been out there with our new playground. That's an open spot, would be a great location for the bear. I think the bear would be a wonderful honor for our community, for our law enforcement, for our first responders. Just as everybody comes up, they'd remember that story from last fall, but also think of our first responders. It's just a great idea that you guys came forward with, and they wanted to see if the board would accept the donation of the bear. They're going to raise the money. They've already started. The bear should be ordered soon. They'll work with the Arts Council on making it look good for our park, and it should be something that the kids would be able to enjoy for a long time. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I add one comment? And if
Sure.
you go back to that spot in the park, the slide that had we had initially planned a sculpture, something to go there. Because we went a little heavy on the equipment side, we certainly didn't have the budget to do something. So this site was always planned for something like this. We just, of course, didn't have the money at the time to do that. So
I would make a motion to approve the donation of the bear.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? To you people, gentlemen and lady there, thank you.
Thank you.
So much, so much.
Mr. Chairman, I think it might be a good time to recognize that this gentleman is now the head of our Parks and Rec Department. So, congratulations.
Well,
Bill.
thank you. Excited to be here. And thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
But we thank you too for coming up with this and doing this. Thank you for your service. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's good.
Okay. Next on the agenda, one question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I've gotten a couple texts. The community has no sound from us.
Me too. You can't hear us.
Can't hear us.
No.
Okay. I mean, they're watching it on Facebook and they can't hear it. Okay. Good enough. Next on the agenda, tax by tech software contract and budget amendment. Ronnie, Entry,
yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Dennis Holton and I are here this morning together to present to you a proposal, a recommendation to replace our county tax software. It was 35 years ago, and Dennis was here with me when the county acquired its original software that we're still using. Many advancements, of course, have been made in software. However, I've got to tell you that the software that we currently use, that is now 35 years old, has worked well for Craven County, and Dennis has been a great partner in making that happen. He has gone out of his way to customize it for our use, and it has worked very well. And thank you, Dennis, for all you have done these 35 years to make that work. We've had many successes with it. However, it is outdated. There are more modern software options there, and beginning 2 years ago, staff started making site visits to other counties to look at options for replacement. And after we considered all of the available options and met with the counties, we decided that the best fit for us was this Bitex software, the product. It is a North Carolina company, and it has currently 26 clients that are counties using it. So you can see in your agenda narrative some of the detail of that. We're asking the board to approve the contract in the amount of $659,732, which is the cost of the software and the attendant costs in getting it running. Now, we're on a rather ambitious schedule to get it done because there are three major parts of it. There's the tax collection part, which would be done first in July, the tax listing and billing option, which would be implemented in September of this year, and then finally the tax appraisal part, which would be done before the end of the year. So it's an ambitious schedule, but we are confident that we will be able to complete that process with, of course, IT's help in doing it. So with that, if you have any questions, we'll be glad to try to answer them, but we do make this recommendation to the board.
Receive a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I would like the managers, the finance officer, to come up and explain this so the public is fully aware and make sure they understand that this is a capital improvement project. The money is already in the budget, has been in the budget. But if you could explain this to the public of these dollars, Greg, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We've been planning for many years the replacement of the tax software piece. So we have been setting aside funds in the capital reserve. And so in the agendas, there's a budget ordinance update that reflects a phase 2, which would include the tax piece only. The first phase was the financial software that we had that was already approved. The budget amendment takes the $659,732, which is the contracted price, and budgets that from, taking that from the capital reserve into the project fund. And then it's allocated based on the software's contracted price and equipment and contingency to cover the project.
Yeah, make sure everybody understands that this total price and everything we have in here, we're gonna finish this project, both phase 1 and phase 2, and come in under budget at a tune of about $600,000, is that correct?
That is correct. Those funds will remain in the reserve fund and be appropriated or allocated to other projects.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe, Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark. Chairman Linder.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, the Department of Home and Community Care Block Grant. Jeff, you're gonna have Miss Georgia? Okay. Miss Georgia's gonna give the presentation. Good morning.
My name is Georgia Newkirk. I am the chair of the Craven Agent Planning Board. Good news, we did not receive a cut for the upcoming fiscal year. We did receive an increase of $5,184. It's not a lot, but we weren't cut. The Budget Committee met on March 21st and reviewed every agency's allocation and came up with a budget to present to the Aging Board on March 28th. And in your packet, you have the DOA 731, attachment number 7. And in the first column, you'll see the services provided by the agencies. Transportation, of course, is CART. Craven County Senior Meals are here on George Street. Home delivered meals for the county. Senior Companion for the county. Care Management for the county, Level 2 and Level 3 services provided through DSS, and Havelock Congregation. In column A, you will see the block grant funding that was presented by the Budget Committee and voted by the board. And in column B, you'll see the match requirement that is required through this block grant. And the board is asking that the county provide that match to the block grant. In column C, you'll see what the net service cost is. And D, the USDA subsidy is for the meals program, the total funding, and then F, projected units. Column G, the projected rate, which is what it would cost to serve one meal, 1 hour. Projected number of clients to be served in column H, and in column I, the number of units or meal or hour that will be provided. Any questions?
Receive a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Mr.
Any
Chair,
comments? Sir.
I want to be clear, because she's asking you to match all of the program. And in the past, we've done it both ways. We've matched just the county portions, and we've matched all the program. So I want you to be specific, so staff knows what number you're looking at there.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Is that motion and a second to match all?
Yes.
The match. Okay. Any discussion?
What, yes, Mr. Chairman, what's that number?
The match?
58,594.
Okay, good.
I have one question. Commissioner Book, do you have any issues with this or anything?
No, I don't. I think it's good.
Okay. All right, roll call.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark,
Yes.
Chairman Linder.
Yes. Georgia, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Y'all have a good
Jeff,
day.
thank you. Okay, next is finance budget amendment. Greg.
Good morning. I have one item on the agenda for you this morning to consider, and that is a budget amendment related to the recent bond refinancing that we had done. On March 28th, we had closed on the 2019 general obligation refunding bond. In order to make all the required entries into the financial system, there is a budget amendment at this time that is needed. Attached to your agendas, you'll see the budget amendment proposes or reflects the entry showing the bond proceeds coming in, and then the corresponding payments out to pay off the bonds and any issuance cost.
Chairman, so moved.
You have a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Booker?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mark?
Yes.
Chairman Light?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next on the agenda, appointments. Let me see, let's go through here. New Bern Craven County Library Board, 1 vacancy, 3 applications.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the library board has asked, as recommended, and asked that the board appoint Mr. Blaine Staff.
We have a nomination of Blaine Staff to serve on the New Bern Craven County Library Board. Any questions, comments? All right, by acclamation, Blaine Staff is appointed. Okay. Craven Pamlico Carteret Regional Library Board. If the board will, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair, I would ask if we would defer consideration of this today.
All right, been requested we defer this until the next meeting. No questions or anything, issues? All right, so be. Craven County Clean Sweep Committee, 1 vacancy, 1 application, David Cox.
I'll approve that.
David Cox has been nominated. Any other nominations? Hearing none, by acclamation, David Cox. Craven Community Child Protection Team, team expiring May 30th. Teresa Webb would like to be reappointed.
So moved.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, by acclamation, she's reappointed. If you check your schedule for the next meeting of what's upcoming in May, if you have anybody there, go forward on. Next on the agenda, County Attorney's Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Gary.
One item for the board's consideration this morning. This is an initial offer to purchase on property owned by the county by virtue of a tax foreclosure. We have received an offer to purchase in the amount of $2,000. The property is on old US 70 out in the vicinity of Tuscarora Rims, that area. It's a fairly irregularly shaped lot. We certainly recommend to the board that you consider approving this offer to purchase and give the chairman the authority to sign the contract. It will go through an advertisement and upset bid process, so you will see the matter again before you grant final approval to convey the property.
Receive a motion?
I'll make that motion.
So move, I'm gonna second it.
Any questions? Sir.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I've asked, I tried to pull it up on GIS and I could never get it, it was down. And they're gonna pull it up for me just so I could see the
Yes, sir.
exact location.
If, Dennis, can you zoom out a little bit on that? Dry Ammonia Road and Tuscarora Rims Road would be basically to the left.
Okay.
One more click. There you go.
Okay. I got it.
Okay. You have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
sir. Okay, next on the agenda, County Manager.
Good morning.
Morning.
3 things to cover with you this morning. I wanted to make the board aware, County Assembly Day
with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners has been modified to May 8th. There was a conflict on May 1st with the proposed teacher rally that day. They chose to go a different day, which would now be May 8th. That is a Wednesday. So if you would, just kind of recheck with Nan or myself whether you still plan on attending with the new date. We will still be leaving relatively early to arrive in Raleigh by 9.
What you do quite early?
For you,
6 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
What time should we be here?
You should be here about 7, sir.
7 o'clock.
We got to be there by 9.
I'll be here.
We gotta check in at 8:30.
I'll be here. I'll be here.
Maybe 6:30.
Before then.
I'll be here.
Yeah, we do. So we'll go ahead and schedule our visits or try to reschedule our visits to the new date with our legislators. We'll still have lunch with them out there in the mall. All right.
So the time would be 6:30?
Yeah, probably need to be here at 6:30. Like to be probably try to be on the road soon thereafter.
At least by 7.
We're going to have a van, Gene. I believe you've already made arrangements for that, so.
I believe by 6:30.
Yep. Okay. Item 2, want to remind the board at your next night meeting, which will be May 6th, we'll have both the community college and the Board of Education here to give you their budget request. I've been in close contact with both the superintendent of schools and the president of the college. Kind of have an idea what to expect. Certainly, they have needs just like all the other county departments that we look at the budget. But want to make you aware, you'll probably have typically a pretty big crowd that night, Mr. Chair, so we'll go ahead and plan on having overflow set up in the whole 9 yards for that. And lastly, some really exciting news, if it hasn't happened already. You should see today a mobilization of the construction team that will be entering the convention center to begin work. We had some teams in advance the last 2 weeks. Some HVAC and folks just really getting the site ready for the team to mobilize to. Superintendent's already here. We expect this work to go rather quickly, we hope. Gene will probably provide you an update at your May 6th meeting on how that's going once we're a couple weeks in. But we're really excited. Architect will be here Wednesday to talk about going ahead and getting the things ready for our phase 2. And we still have a target for the fall to reopen the convention center. That's still our goal. So I'm really pleased with that. But I'm here for questions if you should have them.
Any questions for the manager?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm gonna start this a little bit different. Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you for the heads up, Mr. Chair. I appreciate
Women's
that.
first.
Just-
It's a friendly ever
Just a couple of things today. On the 3rd of April, I went up to a presentation with the Governor's Office and Department of Transportation that commemorated the presentation of North Carolina's gift of $5 million to the Fleet Readiness Center and work on the lift fan repair facility. This is a huge step forward that the state of North Carolina is providing this funding, especially since FRC is the largest industrial complex in the state. I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Office for their plan to be working on trash collection on US 70 in the DeBerna Colors area. DOT picks up trash 7 times a year during that stretch. It corresponds with the mowing schedule, but since that's the route to the Tuscarora area, we end up with a lot of trash that blows off. So thank you for the Sheriff's Department for filling that need and being so responsive. Appreciate it very much. I'd like to encourage all of our citizens to vote during early voting. It is much easier than coming down on primary day. Lastly, on this Saturday, the 20th at 10:30, Riverbend will be having an Easter egg hunt. If you have not been to this event before, it is a great one. It's organized by age groups, and there's also one section for children who are mobility impaired or otherwise challenged, and that's a very nice thing to have. So that's all, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One item I'd like to share with the board, if you can catch that. Partners in Education, we will be having our annual pie luncheon at the Havelock Tourist Center. It will be on June the 19th at 12 noon. And we don't have many tickets left. Tickets had to be cut back this year due to the location. But we're honored to be able to have it in the great city of Havelock. Colonel Todd Ferry will be our keynote speaker. And so any of the board that desires to attend, would love to have you to join us. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Booker.
Yeah, a couple things also. I attended a meeting this past week of Hydro, which is the homeowners downtown and historic district. And the discussion that took a while was a discussion on property that was damaged during the storm. And as it turned out, most of those people had gotten the letter asking them to send it back in if they had damage so that the tax department could go out and assess the property so the tax bill would be adjusted accordingly. There were some people who did not get the letter, who did have damage, who hadn't done anything, didn't know that they could get some relief. So just a reminder to everyone that if you had damage to your property as a result of Florence, you need to contact, and it's online, get the form, fill it out, send it in, and then someone will come out and appraise your property and determine whether or not you should get a tax cut relief for this 1 year. Then Ronnie Etry also explained to me that then they would be getting another appraisal next year to see that the property was now brought back to the standard. So it would be two visits to the property. So I think it's just important that everybody understand that if you had damage, you need to contact the tax department and ask them for appraisal. The second thing is have been for a number of years a member of the Allies for Cherry Point. It's called the acronym. Always have to have an acronym. It's called ACT. And ACT is having their annual event on Friday, May 3rd, right down the street, at the end of this street, on the Neuse River. It's called Brews and Bites, and it's a fun event. There's going to be beer, live music, and food trucks. But most importantly, Hugh B. Tolson is going to do his aerial display again and put on an air show. So the tickets are available online or at the door. $35 is the starting price. I think if you buy them early, it's $35. If you buy them at the event, I think it may be $40. But it's a great event. All the proceeds go to ACT, and the food, the beer, the air show, everything is donated. So literally all the proceeds, almost all, there's a little bit of expense, tents and whatnot, but almost all the proceeds go to the Allies for Cherry Point. And the purpose of that organization is to make sure that our largest employer in the county and the largest employer east of I-95 stays viable. And that's what this organization is dedicated to doing. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sampson.
Yes, I just would like to say this morning that in beginning to talk about the damage in the community. A lot of people had quite a bit of damage. A lot of people had not even begun to start on the damage they had in the home. For some reason, they can't get the people to do the work. It's not that many people around. And also concerning this inspection by the city, I had a city inspector come by my house about a month and a half ago. He walked to my home, oh, you ain't got much damage in here. And I felt like that's saying somebody had a little business in me. And I looked into all that mold and how water stayed in the house 7 days underneath the house. And then you look underneath the house, that's where the water was, underneath the house, and all the seals and everything. Not only did he do it, but also the FEMA inspectors did it. They come through there, and one of them told me, I had flood and wind insurance, and they said, there's no wind damage. Looked through looked in the house, oh, you didn't have much damage in here. Looked out there, I said, well, I looked in the yard, everything was up in the yard, where all that water rushed through there. And they told me, well, you don't you don't have no damage here, so your insurance deductible is $500 something, so you don't get nothing to help fix your house up. And so I had to appeal, but I'm still in the process. I can't stay there without doing something myself, so I'm still in the process of fixing it. But I'm planning on already say that, let them know that I protest that finding that they did. And not only did they do that, they did a lot of people like that. They really, I said that they really took advantage of the people. And it's just, a lot of people not able to afford a lawyer to get out there and fight them. And so, these people that's left out there, some of them left out there in the street or walking the street, and it's just a bad situation, but that's one dark side of it, but I'm less proud so many churches come in and help the community, volunteers come in, different organizations, from different states, and gave a helping hand to the people that needed it. And they weren't able to get around all the people. Some of them are still coming up, they're helping people. And it's not a closure factor on this storm yet because a lot of people still not even in their home. And we need to keep people aware that it's all not finished yet. There's a lot of people that are still lacking and trying to get back in and try to get home fixed up. And a lot of people facing this mold issue. A lot of people, they just can't live outside or they ain't got nowhere else to go, so they live inside. And so that mold is still having an effect on them. And so this is gonna push up the medical bill, and it's also push up the hospital bills, and people had to go to the hospital. So you look at a wide range of things that happened during this storm. And I was just listening last night. I'm so glad that when that hard wind came through here early this morning, that it went on through and then stopped. And a lot of people don't realize how hard that wind blowing came through. I read about 3:30, 4 o'clock. It lasted a little while. I'm glad it didn't last long, but it really was blowing the hardest I've ever seen it. And so we need to keep these people under consideration and realize that it's all not fixed yet. It's a lot of people still out here that is hurting. And we got to continue to help one another, because even didn't happen to us this time, might get us next time. But I think most of the people had some damage in this other storm that we had. I'm sure most of the people had some damage, even if it was a minor damage. So we need to keep these people in prayer, and also if we can help these people, we need to help them as much as possible. And another issue, it's not really an issue, it's a volunteerism that we have some volunteers that's going to come over in Duffield. They have a three-day cleanup, and the city had said that they would put containers out there for people to put the trash in and to clean it up. And this organization is going to be coming through and having sheriffs helping out in this community, the citizen helping out, have somebody put the trash out to take it up. Where no matter what trash you, they can have big dumpsters out there. If you had something in your yard, certain things, they don't generally pick up, but if you had something in your yard, these people gonna be able to take it from you. So it'll help a lot of people out that won't have to throw it other places. So I'm proud of that people working together to even try to clean up the community. That's all I have. That's one more thing. I found out, the gas price is still going up, but I found out that the cheapest time to get gas, especially at Walmart, is Monday or Tuesday. So if you go there the weekend, you're gonna pay for it. So let citizens know that Monday, Tuesday is the best day to gas up.
I remember that.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, I have one item. last Saturday, which is April the 6th, I met with Tom Glasgow, and for the clean sweep at the City Hall around 8:30 that morning, and I was there, and a lot of people showed up, and we broke down in different groups. So I told Tom that it's okay if I get some groups to go down to the Hollow area, and which he did agree. And I took 6 people with me. I mean, they had their own individual vehicles. And we went down to Cahokia, Temple Point Road, and Adam Creek Road. And we picked up, on Temple Point Road, we picked up less traffic than ever been, which were about 6 bags, which is great. And also on Adam Creek Road, we picked up 5, which is great. What happened now, people seem to dump less trash on the highway since we started picking it up. And also too, we got a big sign on some of the posts on the speed limit sign where please do not litter. So I think that helps a lot. And after pick the bags up, we came around with my group and picked all the bags up, and we transported the bags to the dumpster area, recycling area, and we put everything in there. And I did speak to the chair about this. I would like very much on the next meeting, which is May the 6th, I would like to invite 2 of the Girl Scouts troops, and along with the family, to come here and to be recognized for the work they've done to help pick up trash. It only took a few minutes, and the chair says it would be okay for them to come. So it's a good thing to be doing this, and hopefully we'll be able to pick up trash more. But lately, the roads are being kept much cleaner than it was before, because people start realizing that we care. And I spoke to my church yesterday about picking up trash, and I said, it's only I have to pick up trash. We have to work as a community to pick up trash. Don't let me come to you and say, well, we got to pick up trash. Take it upon yourself to pick up trash, because it ain't your community, it ain't just mine. So we all put together, we can survive together. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chair?
This Wednesday, Thursday rather, the 18th, is a 70 corridor commission meeting, which now will also be known as Interstate 42 corridors. And at that meeting, we will have speaking Amy Strechter and Duke Energy on flood recovery opportunities. I'd also like to point out that we have a gentleman sitting in the audience who is the newly elected chairman of the Republican County Party, Tim Mason.
Hope to have you.
That's all I have, sir.
Sure, thank you very much. Couple things. This is for the manager. Read in the paper either Saturday or Sunday, not sure which one. Carteret County has gotten their funding for FEMA, not all of it, but they got a good chunk of money from FEMA. Have we gotten any word of what we're going?
I think that article might be deceiving when I read it as well, sir. I think what it means is they've got an agreement with FEMA. I don't think it means they have their money. We have a very similar arrangement where you work through and different parts are approved, but actually getting the check is a different ballgame.
Okay, where are we at as far as an agreement? Do we have, huh?
There are
It'll
different
also take
categories.
approximately 3 or 4 years to get.
Hurricane Irene, about 25 months before we actually got the money. You've got different categories, like your emergency protective measures, your A and, I think it's A and B, is that right, categories? We're already in and filed, and we've gotten a head nod. Debris, we're getting all our files in now, everything's finished. That'll be the second part, and then lastly will be, of course, the mitigation and long-term building changes we have to do.
Where are we doing on trailers?
We're at 91 last year.
91?
Yeah.
We still waiting?
Approved for, I believe it was just under 500, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, Mr. Chairman. I haven't got an update in some time. I will tell you, if you're giving me an opportunity here to update you on couple things. There is a program we're looking at, I was made aware of, wish Jeff Merritt was still here with DSS. It's called DRAP, Disaster Rental Assistance Program. It's funneled through a DSS's federal funding, and what it would do is take certain people who qualify and assist them with rent for a period of time and housing that's deemed appropriate, I'm assuming by federal standard. There's a counseling part of this. DSS has visited with Robeson County, who did this after Hurricane Matthew and had great success. We're hopeful that'll come before the board at the next meeting for you to discuss and decide if it's a program you like and move forward with. But we think that may be the last piece of getting people out of conditions, as Mr. Sampson said, unlivable homes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Myself, the manager, and vice chair went down to Jacksonville on the 9th and met with the Attorney General for the opening, our discussion with the Crisis Center, with a lot of other managers and our partners for that Crisis Center. A lot of good information I thought came out of it, is backing and support and trying to get funding more for that Crisis Center down there is moving on. Had a meeting last Wednesday with the base, the CMCC committee of all of the small communities and organizations around here. A lot of things happening at Cherry Point this summer. All three of the major commands are changing over their leadership. Good news is you will start seeing construction, and I didn't bring my notes for the dates, but I'll send each of you an email. The fence project is going to start. It's going to be awarded to the end of this month. The project to start tearing down the hangar spaces to make room for the F-35 is going to be awarded at the end of this month. So you will start seeing some construction and some movement going on aboard the base for that funding. There is still a lot of concerns and a lot of information going on down there of what's transpiring and what's taking place. They're still waiting for funds to come in for repair of both Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point. That funding is still not coming in. There's $1.8 billion. It's been holed up at the federal level, coming down for those two bases to try to take care of that. So there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of concerns out there for the wind turbine farms that's being pushed at the state level surrounding Cherry Point, Seymour Johnson, and the other bases. It's a real big issue. It's a big concern for Cherry Point. It should be a big concern for this community. It's not a done deal. I think the moratorium comes off this year for what the state put through, and that's why they're working it now to try to get legislation to push that through. But there's some issues. There's some problems coming up that we all need to be aware of and on top of that, because like it was stated earlier, that's the lifeline for this community, and east of 95, both of those bases, that we need to make sure they're viable and optional to do their mission. And based on that, just a reminder, the 6th of May meeting is going to be a pretty lengthy meeting and a lot of information received from outside agencies, so be prepared for
A long night.
a long night. A long night. Yes, sir.
Gene gently reminded me over here, I was supposed to mention something else to you. On May 20th, the Cooperative Extension and Soil and Water folks have invited you to a luncheon like we traditionally do at their facility. Just let us know within the next week or so if that works for you. It'd be immediately following your work session. We go out and get updates on the programs they're working on.
Okay. May 20th. That's at lunchtime. All right, receive a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.